Hello, I'm Irene Vassola and I'm a student at Leeds Beckett University. Shortly, I will be presenting my personal development plan throughout 2 semesters to be ready for the graduate market. The graduate market is competitive due to the few job availabilities and the high volume of candidates. The many general employer requirements for the career path that I want to pursue are similar, and the skills I need to develop are negotiation, self-motivator, managing ambiguity, near vision, and inductive reasoning. I conducted some self-assessment to better understand my strengths and weaknesses and improve them. The Belbin personality test results have shown that I am more of a shaper and implementer, which are action-oriented roles. I scored lower where monitor evaluator and team worker was, due to my tendency to do things myself as I could never count on others. The results of my 16 personality tests revealed that I have a defender personality, which means that my strengths are supportive, reliable and patient, imaginative and observant, enthusiastic, loyal and hardworking, and have good practical skills. In contrast, my weaknesses are humble and shy, take things too personally, repress their feelings, overload themselves, reluctant to change, and too altruistic. Learning about myself made me realize my real personality and where I can improve. Using a time log, I have monitored how I usually spend my time every day, and most of it is occupied by sleeping, as I function at my best by sleeping at least 9 hours, followed mostly equally by family time, sport, university, work, and food. The radar helped me to understand my priorities in life and where I was on a scale from 0 to 10. My priorities are work-life balance, happiness, health, career, fitness, decision-making, communication skill, and studying, and the chart shows that I am close to the preferred score as is 10. The SWOT analysis made me realize how I still need to improve in some areas and to be more open about taking new opportunities available, especially while at universities. These pictures show the evidence of my self-analysis and well-being classification of team roles. These pictures show the evidence of my 16 personality test and Johari window. These pictures show the evidence of my time log and radar action plan. I then finalized my findings into a gap analysis and made a personal development plan to understand, monitor, and apply the skills and competences that I lack to be the ideal candidate, which are negotiation, self-motivator, managing ambiguity, near vision, and inductive reasoning. I plan to work at each aspect every month to be the best candidate for my future job by next year. Negotiation was a challenging aspect to develop, as shown in my 16 personality test is a weakness, and the way that I improved it was online with session and university work. On Skillshare, an online learning platform, I could access a course that talked about negotiation. Similarly, in a seminar activity, we had to listen to an audio of 9 minutes and follow the instruction. We had only one possibility before comparing our drawings with the whole group, and I was not too fond of the feeling that erupted in me, as I felt in wrong and ridiculed by my drawing compared with the others. But I tried not to focus on the negative thoughts and negotiate anyway with the rest of the group, on which the drawing was closer to the one described in the audio. On another occasion, we had a group work to create an icebreaker for an assessment center activity. Having some issue on selecting the purpose of the icebreaker and choosing the appropriate one afterwards, my team and I had a light conflict on what to choose. Working on negotiation aspect, I listened to the team's opinion and then rephrased my point so that it was easier to understand. In the end, my group and I agreed with some of my suggestions. It was unpleasant when others won't agree or understand the reason behind my decision, since most of the time the people I am with understand and agree to whatever I decide. In my experience, I still think that being in a real-life situation where negotiation occurs is required. In all these, the learning outcomes were that I became a better listener. I encourage myself to stand up with my opinions while planning the conversation. Don't take it too personally if rejection and judgment occurs. To improve my self-motivation, I had to reflect on what were my motivators first. By conducting the test, the results showed that I am motivated by spirit. It made me reflect on what my values were and how I didn't recognize that my motivator was already present in my life. To improve my self-motivation aspect, I accessed online resources to understand how it works. To self-motivate in a task, for example, I need to be interested in what I'm doing. I have to be clear with myself in what I want, give it a meaning, and state how it will benefit my life. Thanks to Skillshare online lesson, I was able to understand also that I need to plan what I'm going to do so that I will give it a mission to promote action and increase momentum. It taught me that I should use motivation only to start something but then rely on habits to keep going on the task. Motivation is only an emotion, habits are discipline and what keeps a person motivated. Another aspect is visualizing and using positive affirmation, which I started to include in my to-do lists. Since I applied the suggestion, I recognized that I was more motivated the next day to do all the list activities. The learning outcomes are many, but what stuck with me the most was that motivation doesn't always come from positive stuff. To be clear on my goal, achieve it, plan to increase momentum, and use motivation only as a startup, and then rely on habits to keep going. After being isolated for so long, even though the university pushed us students to work in groups, it was challenging for me to do so. Having an unresponsive and laid-back team, it was hard for me to stay calm and positive in completing university tasks. By watching videos about it and reflecting in my daily journal, I understood that we try to suppress emotion, to manage ambiguity, to stay in control. By accepting the emotions and circumstances is the first step to embrace ambiguity and avoid to suffer internally and externally. By journaling, I released thoughts that were clocked inside and strengthened my intuition. The way I did that was through Eileen Su by Lavender, a YouTuber and blogger that helps people to get to know themselves. There are many ways to journal, and I used a stream of consciousness and gratitude journaling daily before going to bed thanks to her. It helped me to be more positive, embracing the downs that happen in life, reflecting on them, finding a plausible solution, and how I should behave. Once a year, I also make a bucket list of the goals to achieve that year and hanging on my wall to create visual and plan how to get there every day in my to-do list. To develop my inductive reasoning, I attended some online session, but it was still difficult for me to understand some exercises that were in the lesson. In my day-to-day life, I have used some basic inductive reasoning while doing a task with my classmates in Principle of Leadership, where the tutor asked us to think about what skills and competencies a candidate that applies for a job as a lecturer in China might have and what problems the candidate might have when there. I then listed the possible skills and competencies and was pleased to know that they were right. In this way, I was able to make projection. The learning outcomes based on the experience was that I looked at the facts and listed the possible solution while having a brainstorm with my classmates and asked them for a feedback. Using Gibbs' reflecting cycle, analyzing the situation, I felt overwhelmed with anxiety and frustration when my classmate kept silent and waiting for someone to start the conversation or type the answers in the chat. As it often occurred, I answered and the task soon finished. It was good to have instant feedback, but the lack of engagement from my classmates affected my performance and development of the skill I lack. On that occasion, I could have improved my persuasion and negotiation. I don't think I should have done anything besides being present and doing what the tutor asked us to do. And if the same situation occurs again, I would ask bluntly for more cooperation. Looking back at the learning outcomes, some of the aspects I have to improve were more on the working on myself first, like self-motivator, while the others will be improved only with time and by putting myself in the situation. Some places where negotiation, managing ambiguity, and inductive reasoning can appear in university or working contest. By staying more social, I should be able to improve those aspects. Especially for the self-motivator, I feel that I develop and increase my confidence with it. I revised my SWOT analysis and felt that the only skill I need to develop is inductive reasoning. As shown, I am close to be the ideal candidate for the job chosen, and I chose to develop the skill through books. The picture shows my revised personal development plan. I will develop my inductive reasoning skill by reading books around the subject and deepen my understanding. Once learned, I will use the knowledge gained in working and university environment. In this way, I will be a better candidate and more employable in the highly competitive graduate market. Thank you.